who are running just a few minutes late. As soon as one of them gets here, we'll start our meeting. If you'll just hang with us. Appreciate it. This evening of the Flagler County Planning and Development Board. First item on the agenda is a roll call. Madam Secretary.
Ron Long,
Here.
Mark Langelo,
Here.
Timothy Connor,
Here.
Anthony Lombardo,
Here.
and Michael Boyd.
Here.
We do have a full quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. Next item on the agenda is our Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd all stand and join us as we pledge the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is our approval of the minutes, November the 12th meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes. This is a quasi-judicial process. The audience should refrain from clapping, booing, or shouts of approval or disagreement to avoid potential legal ramification and possible overturning of a decision by the courts. A public hearing must be fair in three respects: form, substance, and appearance. There will be time limits observed during this meeting. The staff will have 10 minutes to make their presentation. The applicant will have 15 minutes to make his presentation, or that could be extended by consensus of the board. During public comments, those who wish to speak from the public will be sworn in. They will have 10 minutes for each speaker, 5 minutes if you're representing a group. The applicant will have a rebuttal time, and so will the staff to have closing comments. Each of those will be 10 minutes. Item number 4. This is quasi-judicial and requires ex parte communication disclosures. Anybody on the board have anything to disclose about item number 4?
No.
This is project number 2025-100032, a request for a variance in the PUD district. Ms. Simone.
Good evening, Simone Kenny, planner. The subject property is located up in the Grandmere subdivision in Ocean Hammock. The future land use is mixed use, low intensity. The zoning is PUD, planned unit development. It is not in a particular flood hazard, being located in flood zone X. The soils are primarily sandy, and there are no wetlands on the property. The subject property is described as Lot 14 of the Grandmere subdivision. This is an excerpt from the plat, with north being on your right-hand side, the ocean being at the bottom. The subject property is slightly irregular in shape. The cul-de-sac from Granada Boulevard cuts into the property towards the rear. In addition, there is a linear path towards the beach for beach access. Here's a foundation survey of the subject property. The single-family dwelling is currently being built, but here you can see again where that cul-de-sac comes in to the property towards the rear. And here is the provided site plan, north being oriented now towards the bottom. The beach is on your left-hand side, showing the foundation of the single-family dwelling, as well as the proposed pool and pool deck that have been proposed and designed to square off with the foundation of the house. Because of that cul-de-sac that comes in, increasing the difficulty of maintaining that side setback, which according to the plat addendum must be at least 25 feet. The proposed pool deck is only 18 feet and 11 and a half inches. So to summarize, the subject property is just over 28,000 square feet. Again, that's lot 14 of the Grandmere subdivision. The cul-de-sac of Granada Boulevard results in an abnormally shaped lot. So the specific request is for a 6.5-foot left side north yard setback variance from the minimum required 20-foot left side yard setback for a pool and pool deck. This is a before the fact variance request, and no public comments have been received yet. Reading our variance criteria into the record, the subject property is not particularly unique in size compared to the other lots of Granada. However, again, the cul-de-sac cuts into the rear of the property and reduces the width, which increases the difficulty of maintaining that minimum required side setback. This is a before-the-fact variance request submitted prior to building permit application. The applicants have acted at all times in good faith. The variance, if granted, would not cause a detriment to the public health, welfare, safety, or morals of the community. The Grandmere plat addendum allows pools and pool decks as an accessory use, and so the requested variance is not for a use of land or building that is not permitted. and the requested variance is the minimum relief necessary to alleviate the hardship. And so your options as the board are to find that all the variance criteria as listed have been met, and therefore approve project number 2025100032 for a 6.5-foot left side north yard setback variance from the minimum required 25-foot left side yard setback for a pool and pool deck at 1 Rue Grand Mur. Or you can find that all the variance criteria as listed have not been met and therefore deny the project. Or you can continue the request based on the determination that more information is needed. With that, I will close out, awaiting any questions or comments from the board, and submit my report for the record.
Thank you, ma'am. Does the applicant wish to come forward, make a statement at this time? Okay. We'll open it to public comments. Anyone from the public wishing to comment on this agenda item, please step forward.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
before we open for public comment, we should probably swear in anybody who wishes to speak tonight.
Okay.
If any member of the public is an applicant or public comment that wishes to speak on an item on tonight's agenda, if you would please stand and raise your right hand.
This is for any item tonight.
Yes, any item on the agenda. Do you swear that the testimony you're going to give tonight is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? You may continue.
Thank you. Sir, if you wish to speak, go ahead and step forward to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. My name is Mark Trudeau. My address is 510 Granada Drive. I'm actually the owner of the home that's adjacent to this particular property. And I wanted to come before the board today to ask you to reject this variance. The reason for it is twofold. One is that the property is already quite large. The construction of the home is very large. The setback that's typical for the cul-de-sac, if the variance is granted, that effectively impinges a bit on my lot. It also impinges on my neighbor's lot. And for that reason, I ask that the variance be rejected. Secondly, unfortunately, while the specific applicant, Mr. Brooks, has been very accommodating during the construction process, the owner of the particular lot and the construction has been very, very difficult to work with. As a matter of fact, I have a whole series of emails that I've received from the owner. Happy to present them to the board. I brought copies. That includes some pictures and also some dialogue that has been vaguely threatening with regards to things like landscaping, things like placement of garbage. It's quite unfortunate. My wife and I have been here for 5 years. We've lived in the community. I'm a retired public company CFO or CEO. And I've also been very active both in the local community, both at Hammock Dunes, but also in the greater community as well. And unfortunately, because there has been so much difficulty so far with this particular property, specifically with this particular owner, I haven't even met the man, and yet I have literally dozens of pages of complaints and emails coming forward about my property that has nothing to do with his. And so what I'm worried about is if we grant this variance, it appears that the owner doesn't really have an appreciation for the way the community is supposed to function and has chosen to be very adversarial. So we're quite worried, in fact, that if this variance is granted, this is just one more thing that's on top of a number of things that have already transpired that seem to be oriented towards this particular owner, not recognizing the appropriate rules and regulations that govern the properties in our community. So for that reason, I ask that the board reject this request for a variance.
Mr. Chairman? Sir?
Yes.
You said you're a neighbor that's abutting this land?
My lot is 510 Granada. So if we were to look at the plat, my lot is essentially
They'll get that up. I'm sure somebody
adjacent
is
to-
working diligently right now to try to get the plat up. Can you guys get the little lot so we can, yep, I got the yep signal.
So my lot would be what's called Lot 7, which if you look at the, what is the northeast corner of this particular lot,
Can you show us the picture with several lots on it?
Go back one.
That's your lot?
so my lot is actually Lot 7 on this particular
You
plat.
have the oceanfront lot.
I do.
Okay. And the issues with the landscaping, while have nothing to do with this, that he's complaining to you about, are indicating to you that you could synopsize or make that in a
Yeah,
brief,
so
that
again,
he's not going to appreciate.
well, as documented in these emails, the owner has objected to the landscaping that I have in between the two lots 7 and 8 because apparently it obstructs his view. That's what's been alleged. That landscaping has been there since this particular community was established back in the 1990s. There's also been complaints about where I place my garbage cans, which I typically place my garbage cans in the cul-de-sac, as is the typical custom in the community. And what I'm concerned about is, given all of the various complaints that have been filed is probably too strong a word, have been discussed and presented to me, when I haven't even met the owners, they haven't even moved in, and here we are once again asking for another variance, something else different, that is outside the normal boundaries of what's allowed in the community. The owner seems to have demonstrated a pattern of behavior that says, I don't really care what's happened before. I don't really care, what your concerns are on your lot. All I care about is getting what I need for my lot. And if we grant this variance, I just worry that it's not going to stop there because it hasn't stopped so far.
Okay, thank you.
I have
I
a
got a question. You mentioned that if this was granted, it would impinge on your lot. Would you explain how it would impinge on your lot?
Well, the size of the pool deck is directly in line with the front of my house. Okay, so if the pool deck is larger than is allowed by the setback, then that's effectively right in front of my house, right? So setbacks are done for appropriate reasons, to separate properties, to provide buffers, to provide for easements, and there should be no difference here. There should be no reason that I've heard, at least in this hearing so far, that having a larger pool deck is rationale for going beyond what is a typical easement. Again, the community set up easements for a reason. Here we're asking for a variance which has an impact on the way the community is viewed, the way the community looks, and there's no rationale for doing this. Just make your pool deck smaller and get within the variance, or get within the setback.
Okay, thank you.
You access your property from Granada Drive, correct?
I do, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for the public? Thank you. Any other member of the public wishing to come forward on this agenda item? Seeing none, I'll close public comments and go to the board.
I don't know if the applicant wants to have any.
Yes, would the applicant like to rebut anything that was said here? Need for you to come forward and
Yeah,
Yes, technically.
yes.
come forward to the microphone, state your name and address, and she'll swear you in.
Do you swear that the testimony you're going to give today is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
You may proceed.
Shan Brooks, 68 North Riverwalk Drive.
Okay.
So the discussion about impeding the view of this property or this pool deck having anything to do with impediment of this gentleman's property, there's going to be a fence around the pool.
Excuse
Sir,
me,
can you
could
go to
you?
the mic? Make sure you're in the mic.
There will be a fence around the pool along with landscaping, a landscape buffer. So the pool will never impede any view or anything to do with this gentleman's home. That's the rebuttal that I would have against any of the comments. Other than that, nothing.
Could you explain what the hardship would be to reduce the pool deck and be within the setbacks?
Certainly. So from the aesthetics of the property or the actual pool itself, when you can see from the corner of the property, when you're walking out of the actual rear of their lanai, walking onto it, it's already cut off. So we've only got like a 7-foot room to actually make that walkway happen. And then the pool is also shifted all the way to the right. So it aesthetically, this is terrible.
And this is because of that cul-de-sac. If it wasn't for the
correct.
cul-de-sac,
Yes, sir.
you'd be able to make this within
Well,
the,
normally, if it weren't for the cul-de-sac, there would be a 15-foot setback, not 25 feet. So that's where the challenge comes in. But yes, to answer your question,
And the pool is all the way at the 15-foot on the other side, isn't it?
that's correct.
Okay.
And then too, behind the Haddad's home, the property behind it to the right, not Mr. Trudeau's property, he has a fence directly on his property line, which is also not allowed in the HOA, but it was done a long time ago, so it's available. As far as the landscape as well that Mr. Trudeau is talking about, there is rules in the HOA that give the Haddads clear sight, 10 foot and below, as far as the landscape and the viewing corridor, which is not involved in this communication or this discussion today, but that'll be handled through the HOA.
Mr. Chairman? The attorney could probably correct me if I'm wrong, but there's argument on Mr. Trudeau's side and your side about this, the landscaping and all that is not necessarily germane to this application, and we really shouldn't weigh one way or the other how we may feel about letters received or whether or not your client has the ability to tell him to take the stuff down. It really isn't a part of this.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you. The reason why I asked the question earlier of it is because I didn't know if this landscaping he was talking about was going over into your property, or not your property, your client's property, and that's why I was trying to figure out what the landscaping issue was. That's why I asked, but. Okay, I don't want to get down in the weeds and something, I hate to say this, but somebody could be a horrible person, and I'm not saying your client is or isn't, but they could be a horrible person, but they still have rights, and we have to, apply the code fairly, whether or not they're nice people or not. And that may be putting us in an awkward situation, but unfortunately, it's what goes on.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I have one that just came up. The fence detail that's depicted on this print here, that's approved, that you don't need any special exception or variance for that?
It's been approved through the HOA.
Okay. And staff, there's no problem with the location of the fence as depicted on this detail right here?
Correct, it meets the code.
Okay. So the fence is there anyway, regardless of what size the pool is?
That's correct, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to the board for board comments.
I just want to confirm, so if that the cul-de-sac, if it wasn't in the cul-de-sac, it would be a 15-foot setback, correct? Because of the cul-de-sac, just
I
like
think-
on a corner lot
I think
situation.
it's the side, yeah, it's not the cul-de-sac, it's the fact that it's a street.
It's a street, so
correct?
it's not a side setback, it's a,
It's a side street
It's
setback.
the street side
Side
setback is
street.
25 versus a regular interior setback, which would have been 15.
right.
But I think if the cul-de-sac wasn't there, if that street continued down, driving off into the ocean,
Correct.
It would have been 25.
then it would still be 25, but they wouldn't have the difficulty they're having right now.
Correct.
And
that's the
that
hard-
does make the lot, to me, a different, topography is unique and different than other lots.
Yeah, I agree.
So.
Okay, the chair will entertain a motion.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion, we approve project 2025100032, request for a variance in the planned unit development district.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
I think they want to do a roll
Yeah,
call.
they want to do a
vote
roll
again.
call.
Okay, we're going to do roll call.
Can-
So the motion on the floor is to approve the variance. Ron Long,
Aye.
Mark Langelo,
Aye.
Timothy Connor, Anthony Lombardo,
Aye.
and Michael Boyd.
Aye.
The motion does carry unanimously.
Item number 5 on the agenda is also quasi-judicial and requires ex parte communication. Does any member of the board have anything to comment on about this? Seeing none, this is project number 2025100047, a request for a variance in the R1 district. Ms. Simone.
Thank you. This property is located off of Sanchez Avenue, also up in the Hammock area. The future land use is R1 rural residential low density. The zoning is R1 rural residential. It is not in a particular flood hazard, being in flood zone X. The soils are primarily sands, and there are no wetlands on the property. It is described as lots 9, 10, 11, and 12 of Block 6 of Artesia subdivision. This is an old plat. It would be considered a lot of record, being undersized. The specific request is for a height variance for a fence. Our land development code provides that the maximum allowed height within the front setback is 4 feet. The applicant has already built a 6-foot fence. The variance request was triggered by code action. As we can see in the site plan, the fence on the left-hand side is about 5 feet from the property line, and then moving over to the right side, it's about 11 feet into the property, with about 3 gates in between. And it is a 6-foot tall wood fence. The applicant has provided some photos for your information on what it looks like, as well as some of the gates. Again, to summarize, the total lot is about 20,000 square feet, lots 9, 10, 11, and 12 of Block 6 of Artesia. The subject property is located across the street from the Citgo gas station. There is access to that gas station from both Sanchez and North Ocean Shore Boulevard. So there are some concerns about privacy as well as safety. The applicant has also stated in their application that they have a child with autism who has a recorded history of elopement, and that a 4-foot fence has not been substantial enough to prevent that. So the specific request is for a 2-foot fence height variance from the maximum allowed 4-foot fence. This is an after the fact variance request, and again, no public comments have been received thus far. Reading our criteria into the record, while the property is not particularly unique compared to the other lots of the Artesia subdivision, again, there is that commercial gas station that's located across the street, again, which accesses both Sanchez Ave and North Ocean Shore Boulevard, resulting in reduced privacy and potential safety concerns. The applicant stated that they had done some research prior to building the fence, and learned that the city of Palm Coast does not require a permit for their fence, not realizing that their property was under the jurisdiction of the county, which does. So given the misunderstanding as to which jurisdiction they were subject to, it is assumed that the applicants have acted at all times in good faith. Sanchez Avenue is a 50-foot right-of-way. That's much wider than the actual sand roadway is. Additionally, the fence is located at least 5 feet off the property line, and for those reasons, staff determined that the variance would not cause substantial detriment to the public health, welfare, safety, and morals of the community. Fences and walls are a permitted use in all residential districts, and the requested variance is the minimum relief necessary to alleviate the hardship. The only alternatives would be to tear down the fence or cut it down to 4 feet so that the applicant could pull a permit and close out that code case. So your options as the board are to find that all the variance criteria as listed have been met and therefore approve project 2025-100047 for a 2-foot fence height variance from the maximum allowed 4-foot fence height at 82 Sanchez Ave. Or you can find that all the variance criteria as listed have not been met and therefore deny the project. Or you can determine that more information is needed and continue the request to a time and date certain. With that, I will close out, awaiting any questions or comments from the board, and submit my report for the record.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody on the board wish to question staff? If not, we'll ask the applicant, do they wish to come forward and make a statement?
I haven't really prepared a statement. I'm a concerned father for the safety of my son. And if there's any questions you guys have that I need to answer, I'd be happy to answer.
Which of the 2 gas stations is in front of you there?
There's not 2 gas stations, there's only
No,
one.
there's 2 on that, there's 2 up there in the hammock. Which one is in front of you?
There's the church, and then there's the, I only know it as the guy that sells the hammock pizza there. I don't know the name of the actual.
I believe it's the Sitco.
Could we get you to
yes.
stand, could we get you
Yeah,
to
it'd be
stand
the
closer to the
Sitco.
mic? Thank
Yeah.
you.
The Sitco. So you're not behind the Sitco, you're behind the one that used to be Shell Station.
I'm behind the Sitco. Yeah,
You're behind
the Sitco.
the Sitco?
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought that's where this was.
Yeah, the one that's further down that used to have the subway.
I mean, I guess up there, I've seen your new fence, I like it.
Okay, thank you. I worked very hard on it.
That's all, I just wanted clarity.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
2 things. One, if you would, could you just identify yourself on the microphone?
I'm Robert Pittenger.
Okay.
Yeah.
The fence is circling your entire lot, and that's 6 lots, is that what I understand?
It
It's 6,
should
so
be
it's
4 lots.
4 lots.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and it had pre-existing fence of 6 foot tall around the sides and the back.
Okay, did you have any type of iron stakes or anything that you were able to identify what your property line was?
No, I did a measurement from the back line.
So there was something in the back that you had
Yes.
stakes or something?
Yeah, there's property line all in the back I pulled from.
Okay, and you intentionally brought it did not go to the property line, correct?
No, it's as written on here, it's 11 feet on that side and 5 feet on the other side. And if you look at the pictures, I really tried the trees in the hammock are very big. I tried to kind of navigate through the trees so I didn't have to remove any trees because they're, some of them 100-year-old trees.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah.
And there's a chain link as well as wood. You use both?
No, that link fence that's in there is part of the original fence that was there when I bought the property. So it's just a gate.
So there was a 6-foot high fence on this property up towards the front originally?
No, there was no fence in the front. No. Just the gates. If you look
Okay.
at this picture here, it's just the gate across the driveway.
Yeah.
That's the only chain link.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions for the applicant?
You mentioned safety of your son, for your son.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on what the extra 2 feet's going to do for you?
I sure can. So my son, if he wasn't sleeping, I could have him stand up for you. He's got a history of elopement. He's level 3 autistic. He actually had an incident at Bunnell Elementary School approximately 6 months ago, a year ago, where he escaped from the playground there, which is a 4-foot high fence. He's a climber. I've put up, as I put in the statements, I put up locks in the house. He runs. This is kind of the last barrier of protection from my son to the road. And I mean, obviously, A1A is 1 street away from our house as well, so it's a concern. I mean, we watch him constantly. My wife and I are diligent about always watching him, but he's very fast and he's very clever. You know, he's unlocked these doors, run downstairs, and we've had a few close incidences. We've had sometimes where he's ran into the road. And then also, there's a lot of ATV traffic throughout that whole neighborhood, which is a big concern because a lot of those guys come whipping down the roads. It would take 1 second for him to be out there and get hits, and it's just it keeps me up at night. That was the main purpose of this fence. And 4 feet, he can most definitely climb over. You know, he's a tall boy. He's very strong for his age, very agile, and that's why I built the fence that height. I was unaware that it wasn't allowed. So, yep.
How long have you owned the house?
Going on 3 years, 3.5 years, 4.5 years.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
We'll open it to public comments. Anyone from the public wishing to comment on this item, please step forward and identify yourself.
Raymond Royer, Painters Hill. Yeah, I'd like to see the board approve this. As the father has spoken, you know, he has a special needs child, and you guys can actually consider putting language in the clause if it does change property owners that, you know, the fence would be damaged in a storm, it would return to a 4-foot fence. So, but at this circumstance, you know, he's got, like he's mentioned, and I think he needs that safety barrier to protect his child from, it's not just a regular road, he's access to a high, kind of like a high-moving highway there. So, so please consider allowing him to have the 2 feet. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member of the public wishing to comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, we'll close public comments and go to the board.
Mr. Chairman, go ahead.
Well, I have a question for staff. So in the hammock on our overlay requirements, one of the things that is encouraged is screens between commercial properties and residential property, including using planted buffers and fences. And so on the back side of the Citgo station, this wouldn't be an issue, right? It's only an issue because it's on the front side of this gentleman's house.
Correct, because it's along the front property line.
Okay, thank you. I make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion and say that I also think that the fence is incorporated well, in the pictures, they incorporate well into the landscaping, and it wouldn't be a detriment to the neighborhood, and that the uniqueness of the gas station behind him, perhaps, and the trees make it a unique lot.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? I'll call the question. Madam Secretary.
The motion on the floor is to approve. Timothy Connor,
Aye.
Mark Langella,
Aye.
Ron Long,
Aye.
Anthony Lombardo,
Aye.
and Michael Boyd.
Aye.
The motion does carry unanimously.
Thank you. Item number 6 on the agenda is also quasi-judicial. Anyone having anything to report on this item? No. This is project number 20251-10006, a request for a variance in the mobile home district. Ms. Simone.
This property is also located up in the Hammock area off of Live Oak Road. The future land use is residential low density. The zoning is MH1, rural mobile home. It is not located in a flood hazard, being in flood zone X. The soils are primarily fine sands, and there are no wetlands on the property. The subject property is described as Lot 25 of the Magnolia Manor Unit 1 subdivision. It's approximately 60 feet deep and 100 feet wide, about 6,000 square feet. There is an existing non-conforming dwelling on the non-conforming lot of record, most likely because it was built prior to the adoption of the Land Development Code. Currently, the single-family dwelling sits 12.76 feet from the rear property line, whereas the minimum rear setback is 20 feet, and it sits 24.29 feet from the front property line, where the minimum front setback is 25 feet. The applicant originally came in wanting to enclose their existing carport just to increase their usable living area. Because the dwelling is non-conforming, the variances are needed to bring the building into conformance. And then they also wished to expand their existing front porch a little bit as well. And so the setbacks would be 17 feet in the front and the 12.79 feet in the rear. And the applicant also provided some photos for context. Here you can see what is of the existing front porch, mainly just an awning over the stoop, as well as that existing carport. They're not proposing to increase the footprint at all. They're just going to enclose it in. And so to summarize, 6,000 square feet, lot 25 of Magnolia Manor. It is an existing non-conforming structure. The intent is to enclose the existing carport and expand the porch a little bit. This is an undersized lot of record. So the specific request is for an 8-foot west front yard setback variance from the minimum required 25-foot front yard setback and a 7.5-foot rear east yard setback variance from the minimum required 20-foot rear yard setback. This is a before the fact variance request, and there was a letter of support received from the surrounding property owner. Reading our criteria into the record, again, the property is a non-conforming lot of record as it's undersized for the zoning district and predates the Land Development Code. The minimum lot size in the MH1 district is 1 acre, this property coming in at just 0.14 acres. Additionally, the dwelling faces Live Oak Road rather than Holly Road to the south, meaning that there is a greater rear and front setback applying to the narrower portion of the lot. Had the dwelling been facing Holly to the south, there would have been much more room for the as the lot would have been 100 feet deep to fit those front and rear setbacks. This is a before-the-fact variance request submitted prior to application for a building permit. The conditions were not created by the affirmative actions of the applicant, and they have acted at all times in good faith. The variance would not cause substantial detriment to the public health, welfare, safety, and morals of the community, and we did receive a letter of support from a nearby property owner. Single-family dwellings are permitted use in the MH1 district, and the requested variance is the minimum relief necessary to alleviate the hardship. So your options as the board are to, 1, find that all the variance criteria as listed have been met and therefore approve project 2025110006 for an 8-foot front west yard setback variance from the minimum required 25-foot front yard setback and a 7.5-foot rear east yard setback variance from the minimum required 20-foot rear yard setback in the MH1 district at 3 Live Oak Road. Or you can find that all the variance criteria as listed have not been met and therefore deny the project. Or you could determine that more information is needed and continue the request to a time and date certain. With that, I will close out, awaiting any questions or comments from the board, and submit my report for the record.
Thank you, ma'am. Any member of the board have a question for staff? Yes, sir.
Please explain once again. Talk about if the lot. I'm sorry. You talked about if the lot, the house was facing, I guess, the narrower side of the lot.
The most of the other dwellings that you would see in this neighborhood face the
This would be where it says wood deck,
Yeah,
so that, if that was the front of the property,
yes. Then the side setbacks in question would have been 7.5 feet
okay,
on the left side, 20 feet on the right side. So the house still would be non-conforming if it had existed in this footprint. My analysis was based on if the house had been designed to face the deeper portion of the property, like many of the other dwellings of this area, then there would have been more room on the side setbacks.
did the construction of this house predate the LDC that we are in?
I believe so, yes.
And is this on one lot? Was it built on one lot, or was it built on two lots?
This is just one lot.
It was, the original construction was built on two lots,
On one.
one of those undersized
I
lots.
don't have a record of the actual permit. We only keep paper permits for 10 years. But I would
Maybe the homeowner
assume-
might know how old the home is? Do you know how old the home is?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff?
I have a question for Steph. Do we know, and this might be a question for the applicant when they come up, the enclosure of the carport, are they planning on keeping it a carport but just closing it in, and are they putting a garage door up, or is it going to turn into living space?
I believe it'll be living space, but I think the applicant can answer that in more detail.
Okay, I'll wait for them to come up then, because I have another question that you guys probably might not have an answer for.
Okay, would the applicant like to come forward, state your name for the record, please, and address?
Scott Enegren, 3 Live Oak Road.
So can I start?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Start rolling me.
So first question.
Yes.
You know, is it going to be still a carport, or are you going to be turning into some type of living space?
It's going to be living space. We're adding a study to that area to add to the square footage. It's like 700 square feet under air right now. So we're blocking that in and doing the construction that way and keeping under the original footprint of that they have there.
Gotcha. And the future, the porch, is that going to be a covered porch, or are you just doing planning to do just a pavered porch out there?
We were asking for future plan, maybe just a little porch extend out front, and and ask for a building permit after. As of right now, we're just asking for the variance at this time because we're sitting here at this time with the house in a small lot. So it's a future plan. So yeah, we might do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Do you know how old your house is? Or what year it was built roughly?
1969.
Okay.
1960.
Yeah, it looked, that block, painted block construction looked pretty
Yeah,
old.
painted block. Yeah.
Right. And the live oak on the side, do you have a lot of cars that go by in there?
No, that our street when you come in Magnolia is there's no access to go around. So anybody who's driving in that neighborhood is the neighbors.
You're one of the
basically.
neighbors.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of traffic at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
This time we'll open it to public comments. Anyone from the public wishing to comment on this agenda item, please step forward. Seeing none, we'll close public comments and go to the board.
I guess I'll start. Mr. Chairman, it seems to me this house is one of these, on these lots where they're very difficult. They were built way back when there was no such thing as zoning. And now they had zoning plopped on top of them. And, those are small houses, and the enjoyment of it would make more sense if they could enlarge it, and it doesn't seem to bother neighbors. So I would, and I do think those are unique lots in itself. So I would make a motion to approve the motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a
Variance, I
second.
should say.
The motion on the floor is to approve the variance. Timothy Connor,
Approved, yes. Aye.
Mark Langella,
Yes.
Ron Long,
Aye.
Anthony Lombardo,
Aye.
Michael Boyd.
Aye.
The motion does carry unanimously.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item number 7. It's legislative and not requiring any ex parte communication. This is project number 20250-80073, a request for future land use map amendment greater than 10 acres in the agricultural district. Ms. Simone.
Thank you. The subject property is 119 acres located up on Seminole Woods Boulevard. The current future land use is about 108 acres of ag and timber and 11 acres of commercial low intensity. The zoning is agriculture. It is not in a particular flood hazard, being located in flood zone X. The soils are primarily fine sands, but there are a couple spots of depressional soils that coincide with some isolated wetlands. This request is to change the future land use from the 108 acres of ag and timber and 11 acres of commercial low to the total of 119 acres of mixed-use high-intensity, along with a parcel-specific limiting policy that would limit the average density to 7 units per acre, knowing that mixed-use high-intensity normally allows 10 units per acre. This is the master plan from the subsequent rezoning to PUD, just to give you sort of a better idea of what the applicants are proposing. As you'll see in the bottom left-hand corner, the actual area of the commercial use isn't changing much. The applicants actually had originally come in for a future land use change to mixed use low. However, one of the intended uses for that commercial area would be for a shopping center, such as a grocery store complex with adjacent stores, and that is a use that would not have been allowed in the commercial low intensity or mixed use low intensity, prompting them to instead apply for the mixed use high with that parcel limiting policy because they stated that they didn't need the additional density that came with it. In addition to that, there's assisted living facilities, about 12 acres. We consider that in our code to also be a commercial use. And then there's about 72 acres of residential, including single-family, detached, attached, or townhome, and multifamily. So going into our analysis for what kind of impacts.
Chairman, can I ask a question before she get too far down the road?
Okay, yes.
Is there any height restrictions overall on the property? Or what are they? What are the height restrictions on the property?
This property technically is on the outer boundary of the airport protection overlay zone, which would limit it to 300 feet.
No, the height. What is the height that you could build on this property?
Because of that airport protection overlay, they would be limited to 300 feet no matter what.
You could build a 300-foot tall building on this property, you're saying?
Oh, currently?
No. With this change, what would be the height restriction you can build on this, this mixed-use property? What is it, 35 feet? Is it 65 feet? What is the height?
It would depend on what the zoning was. They're proposing a PUD, and their maximum height, I believe, is 45.
45 feet.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, just right off the bat, I think, you know, you have multifamily and you had assisted living, and, you know, that could trigger tall, and I like tall, but I'm just saying that could trigger a tall structure in the property. I just wanted to know what we're looking at. Okay, go ahead. Didn't mean to interrupt you, Simone.
No worries. Going into the analysis of impacts, making this PowerPoint, I did catch a few errors I had with my math, so there are some revisions in this one. With the mixed-use land use designation. They do have a minimum required amount of commercial and a maximum allowed of residential. The applicants came in proposing 40% commercial, so that would be the 47.6 acres, and 60% residential, which is about 71.44 acres, applying their self-imposed parcel limiting policy of 7 units per acre. That comes out to 502 units. And the commercial with a 0.4 FAR is about 830,000 square feet of commercial. So that is an increase of 480 units from where the property currently stands, and a net increase of 685,982 square feet of commercial area.
600,000? Is that what you said, commercial?
Yes.
600
600,000
square feet? That's
square feet? Do we have that correct? 600,000 square feet.
a lot.
That's
That's a
mega
whole lot. Yeah.
humongous.
That's at the 47.62 acres of commercial times the 0.4 FAR.
Okay, well, that is huge, but go ahead.
That would be their maximum allowed with the future land use designation. Population, therefore, applying our 2.4 person per household is an increase of 1,153 people. Transportation impacts based off of their traffic analysis that they provided would net an increase of 4,845 daily trips. Potable water would increase 427,000 gallons. Sanitary sewer would increase 369,000 gallons. Solid waste would increase 18,000 pounds per day. Parks and recreation demand, again, that's just the net increase in people. And then education facilities applying the 2024, not 2042 student generation rate would net an increase in 101 students. So again, to summarize, the total property is 119 acres. It is coming in with a companion rezoning to PUD. I can, at the board's direction, jump directly into that presentation as well, so you can have a more cohesive idea of the total proposed project. There is an amendment. The amendment includes a parcel-specific limiting policy capping density to 7 units per acre. Again, that's 108 acres of ag and timber and 11 acres of commercial low intensity to 119 acres of mixed-use high intensity. And the analysis is based on the worst-case scenario of 60% residential and 40% commercial. So again, that's 71 acres at 7 units per acre is 502 units. 47 acres at 0.4 FAR is 829,000 square feet. Again, noting that a large portion of that is the assisted living facilities, which we consider to be commercial use. And at least 25% of the total area does have to be open space, which consists of a common area as well as stormwater. So that's about 30 acres. When we published the staff report, there was a comment on the cover letter that the only TRC comment that had not been responded to by the applicant was the capacity letter for water from the city of Palm Coast, and the applicants have since provided that capacity letter.
Capacity meaning that the city of Palm Coast does have the capacity for water and sewer?
Correct.
For the numbers you just gave?
Correct. We also have our standards of review for comprehensive plan amendments. We go through the Florida statutes as well as comprehensive plan policies. These are included in the staff report. and they are quite lengthy, so I don't have to go through each one individually unless any of the board had a specific question.
I have a question. I do want to, I think we should hear at least the structure of the PUD. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about it, but it does make sense to see what this really is before we really change the zoning. But if the city of Palm Coast is providing this water and sewer, I'm assuming the city of Palm Coast will be eventually, they're gonna be in their fire zone, being where it is. Is this project going to be annexed into the city of Palm Coast? I'd like to hear from the applicant. I don't know if they talked to you about that. Is this?
Staff is unaware of any plans for annexation.
Well, I would like to hear that at some point, you know, where we stand with that. But, yeah, I don't know how everyone else feels about it, but at least we have an overview of what the PUD looks like. This is not a small project, so.
No, it's huge.
I have a question. The ag designation on the FLUM currently, is that a placeholder designation, or was there some agricultural purpose that was anticipated for this property at some point in time?
Timber.
I believe the property has been used for timber.
It's been timbered.
Yes.
I know we use ag designation on our map for placeholder purposes. Is that the intent of putting ag designation on this parcel?
Adam is nodding yes.
Okay.
All right, so I'll just go into the presentation for the rezoning to PUD. Blah, 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 we've seen this. The current zoning is agriculture. The proposed zoning is mixed-use PUD. Again, here's that master plan again, having that 11 acres of commercial towards Seminole Woods Boulevard, as well as that assisted living, which also does count towards that commercial area. And then we have the 22 acres of multifamily, 16 acres of townhome, 23 acres of single-family residential, as well as the stormwater and common area, which would be in both the residential and commercial areas. Here are the development standards from the PUD for all of the proposed uses, including single-family, multifamily, townhome, the commercial, and then the assisted living. Again, the maximum building height would be limited to 45 feet. That's building code would be 3 stories at the most. Again, the average density for the residential portion will have to be 7 units per acre, but they would be able to kind of cluster some of those units closer, so that's why you see 6, 10, and 9 dwelling units per acre for the other uses. I don't know if you want me to read through each and every one of these, or if you want to take a second to look, and I can wait for any questions.
Did we do any traffic analysis? Was there that given to us on this road?
Probably done now.
There was a traffic analysis, yes.
And where do we stand in capacity right now? What is this? Where are we at? And how does this affect it?
Oh, the applicants have provided a traffic analysis for the proposed increases of trips. This would be a city road.
For the level of service on that road and how that's going to affect it, or are we?
Seminole Woods would be a City of Palm Coast road. Best guess, it's currently at a C, failing potentially at the intersections. The City of Palm Coast has been provided this application from the start. We haven't received anything back from them.
Okay,
in the
I'm
timeframe.
gonna wait for Mike to ask the applicant something, because some of these directly have to do with that very issue or how that stands. But thank you.
And then, sorry for the small font, but these are all the proposed uses. Again, most of your residential uses, as well as the specific commercial uses in the PUD. Again, the shopping center down at the bottom was the main reason why they did not go for the mixed-use, low-intensity land use designation, even though that would have provided them with all the density that they needed. It was really that shopping center which triggered the need for the future land use to mixed-use high. So again, it's a rezoning from ag to mixed-use PUD, average density 7 units per acre. The master plan calling out 61 acres for residential, 23.3 acres for commercial, including the assisted living, and then 18.7 acres for stormwater and 16 acres for common area. The development would be phased with up to 10 lots per phase allowed to be used as design centers or model homes. And the PUD site development plan would have to follow as well.
The common area is the roads, right? Common area is the 16 acres of roads.
Common area or open space between green space, depending on how they'll have to mitigate the wetlands. There might be wetlands on the property. Those would be considered common area as well, or recreational areas.
So the roads are not the 16 acres. Those are a portion of the 16 acres
Correct.
of the road, but there's an additional percentage. You don't know, and you don't know what that is right now with the current design?
No.
Okay.
We also have our standards of review for rezonings, also lengthy. I won't take up your time by reading through these individually. They are also provided for you in your staff reports and your options for the board. So we can go back to the future land use if you would like. Can we consider them at the same time? You can consider these applications at the same time, have the same public comment, same time for the applicants, and then we'll do 2 separate votes, if that's the board's direction.
It's fine.
Are you good with that?
And with that, I will close out, awaiting any questions or comments from the board, and submit my report for the record.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions for staff? If not, would the applicant like to come forward and make a statement, please? Please state your name for the records.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dick Smith, ICI Homes, 2379 Bevel Road, Daytona Beach. I'm Vice President of Land Development with ICI. Also with me this evening is Nika Hosseini with ICI Homes, and Mark Grande with Kimley Horn is the civil engineer. First of all, thank you to staff for your assistance and very diligently helping us with this application. We've worked through a lot of details. This is not an imminent project at this point in time as far as specificity. That's as specific as we've gotten at this point. Did want to mention some of the concerns related to the size of the buildings. Those are theoretical maximums. Those sizes obviously cannot fit on those sizes of property, but those are theoretical maximums. We have not made a decision on the annexation at this point. That is to come. And any traffic impacts and traffic specifics with our project will be answered at a later date. But with that, I'm free to, or willing to answer any questions you might have.
I definitely have a couple questions. You said you haven't made a decision for the annexation?
That's correct.
So Palm Coast have you been in conversation with them at all about it?
Well, we've talked to them about obviously the utilities. Beyond that, no.
And the fire need, where is that coming from? How are we handling the fire? Is that coming through Palm Coast?
We have not gotten into those specific discussions. I would imagine isn't there not a joint use agreement between the city and the county on that for those purposes?
Well, I'm just wondering where the impact fees paid when the houses are built, where that's going to go. That's why I'm asking. That's why I was asking the questions about for instance, the road, the fire, the water's going right by there. So you're going to tap into it and bring it in. And if they're going to allow it in their capacity, I know that they were building some new facilities, and I am assuming that that's how they're, justifying the new use. They want another customer. But I'm just wondering how that's all going to fit into the larger scheme. And I was, of course, concerned that, a lot of the neighbors don't realize this. I don't know if we have some neighbors here tonight, but they may not realize what the scope of this is. And then I can see houses right adjoining to it, and they come up and they say, geez, you guys got a bunch of 45-foot tall buildings, and we don't have that in our neighborhood. And, there's this shopping center right there with a lot of cars coming in and out and blah, 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 That's why I'm trying to get a feel for, where this is really going. That's all.
Yeah, I understand. This is obviously an infill project. There's infrastructure surrounding this property. It's not inconsistent with residentially with the other projects in that surrounding area, and it has been commercial. We're not adding commercial. It has been commercial for quite some time, and we're just kind of incorporating into the overall plan is what we're doing.
The timberland was there, and then you had the commercial in the front. Why isn't the educational part, why is that left out?
We don't own that.
Oh, you don't own that?
No.
Oh, it was highlighted in that bigger picture. I thought that was all part of it.
No, that's just included in the cluster of the Flagler County jurisdiction. For some reason, all of these parcels have not.
This is the remaining part of the Flagler
Yes.
County jurisdiction.
So their parcel is
Wow.
the one with the yellow boundary.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a quick question. You said you have done a traffic study?
We have, yes.
And that's with this commercial shopping center right here? What were the results on that? And has Palm Coast been privy to any of that information yet?
Do you want to answer that?
Yeah. Good evening. For the record, Nika Hosseini with ICI Homes, 2379 Bevel Road in Daytona Beach. So we have had discussions. This has been a long time coming. We've had discussions with the city of Palm Coast and with Flagler County, specifically with the planning director of Palm Coast, who now is at Volusia County, just trying to work through what might occur, whether it's an annexation or not. So we're still in those discussions, but because we are currently in the county, we wanted to at least move forward with entitling the property, and then also continue to talk to Palm Coast and see what they want to do, what we want to do, and how we can marry those two. So we're having all those conversations. Flagler County has received that traffic report, and as you know, this is just the entitlement phase. So once we get into the details, once we go through site plan and we start specifying what we actually are looking to do, then we will get into the details of having a more specific traffic study, a more specific plan with more specific numbers. Like Dick mentioned, these are all theoretical maximums right now, right? So it's a math equation that isn't looking at the property and what's actually feasible. When you take into account stormwater, roadways, impervious surfaces, all of that, it's impossible to get to the numbers that are being reported, which is unfortunate for us because we're trying to say we're definitely not doing that. But then when you show someone the numbers, they're like, that's insane. It's physically impossible to do, which is why we put in a parcel limiting policy for the residential, because we would never go over that in the first place. And the reason why we decided on this mix of uses is because we thought it would be the most helpful to the surrounding area. So the entire area is highly dense residential, single family neighborhoods. I mean, if you pull out and you look at it, it's a lot of residential. So the reason why we went to mixed use high intensity was for one reason only. We wanted to have the ability to put a grocery store because we know that that's lacking in that area. And without going to mixed use high density, we wouldn't have the ability to do that. So we wanted to be able to capture traffic, and because that piece, that little square in the left-hand corner, my left-hand corner, was already designated commercial, we said, okay, we'll add it to the agreement. We'll keep it, essentially that a commercial node. It's already zoned for that, and we'll just switch it to mixed use high intensity so that we have the ability, if we would like to add a grocery store. So whether it's a small grocery store or a big grocery store, unless you go to mixed use high density, you can't have it at all. and we wanted that ability. And we want to provide, I apologize, an internal capture for the traffic. So the mix of uses was very deliberate. We didn't want all residential because that would just add even more traffic. We wanted to add a mix of uses that would be helpful and keeps the traffic as inside as possible.
Do you know what the daily traffic count is in front of that property?
We do have those numbers in the traffic study, which I do have here. Let me pull for you.
You know, it's unfortunate, while you look for that, it's unfortunate that we're getting a traffic study and we're responsible for a very limited portion of this road.
Yeah.
Not, not that necessarily this board is in charge of Palm Coast, but it is, part of the scheme of the whole thing. That's why I'm trying to figure out what goes on here. That's all.
And so with respect to your question, again, this is a theoretical max. So it doesn't.
No, but what is the traffic count currently, right now on that road? And the daily traffic count? 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, do we know?
I don't have that. I just have the traffic study that is required by the code is the theoretical maximums, unfortunately. So at theoretical maximums, which again isn't very helpful, for AM peak hour for the proposed future land use would be 415 in and 412 out. So that's the AM peak hour, and then the PM peak hour would be 625 in and 613 out. Again, noting that this is not the zoning or what will actually be on the site. This is pure theoretics.
And St. John's River Water Management hasn't looked at this at all yet, have they?
No, this is purely in the entitlement phase. So of course, all of that will be imminent as we progress with this project, but we are not at that point. And of course, you're going to have to look at minimizing and avoiding any wetlands, stormwater, meeting all the stormwater requirements, passive and recreational and active uses of open space as well. So all of those will come into play. We are at the very beginning phases of this, and our basic overall goal is how can we incorporate a mix of uses into an area that already has a ton of development. This is like one of the only ag pieces in that area. Essentially what you're noting about kind of the holding place for future development is essentially what this is. And we have, Flathead County has the piece that's zoned education right next to it, which in theory would be for a school. So we just thought this mix of uses in this area makes a lot of sense.
It's probably too small for a school, though. Yeah.
I think that's the one that we're talking about, that K through 12. I ain't gonna fit there.
They were
That's not gonna fit there.
actively pursuing dumping properties they had that were this small.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
They
No, I
just
know.
can't use them correctly. But anyway,
Mark, I did a quick look online just to find out. It looks like there's about 10,000. This was in 2017, the most recent study I found. There were like 10,000 cars. going up
10,000
and
on
down
that road. Thank you,
Seminole
Ron.
Woods.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate
Thank
it.
you
And
so
if you don't mind reserving some time to come back to answer
Yeah,
any
you'll
questions
get a
from the public.
rebuttal as part of
I
the.
appreciate it. Thank you so much.
This time we'll open it to the public comments. Anyone from the public wishing to comment on this agenda item, please step forward and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Matthew DeBella, and I live at 171 South Cooper's Hawk Way. Just in terms of the traffic, 2017, there's been an expansion, particularly in that area. There's at least 3, possibly 4 new communities that have gone up. In addition to that, in this particular area, I don't know if you're familiar with Seminole Woods, but that particular portion of Seminole Woods is 2 lanes. Seminole Woods Parkway is 4 lanes, and right around that point is where the traffic merges into 2 lanes. So there's already a bottleneck there, and I'm just giving you an idea of what the traffic is like currently. So it's much worse, I'm sure, than it was back in 2017, which is around the time that we moved to the vicinity. Now, I don't know if the plan is to keep the grocery store within the community itself, which is fine, but I would contend there's plenty of shopping currently in the area. So those are my comments.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wishing to comment on this item? Please step forward and state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Jim D'Agostino. I live at 191 South Cooper's Hawk as well. I just want to agree with the traffic assessment there. It's going to be a major shift to build more roads, to accommodate all the houses that are going to go up here. Also, during the last storm, there was a major flooding on Seminole because all the work they have to do, all the streets that come down, the water's got no place to go. So that's going to be a major thing that has to be addressed. So I don't know. I know they have plans for it, but right now it's really not suited for that neighborhood in my view. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing none, we'll close public comments and go to the board.
If I could.
Oh, yes, excuse me. Would the applicant like to have a few minutes for rebuttal?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I appreciate it. I'd not take up anyone's time. Of course, we are aware of the traffic issues. That's why we are required to do not only a preliminary report, but a more thorough traffic analysis as we move forward with our plans. Again, these are just theoretical plans. What we're looking at right now is essentially a mix of uses. So we have various uses permitted by our code. We're saying, hey, we think it makes sense to have some residential, but not all, because we think that's too much residential, maybe a little bit of commercial, and a couple of other accessory uses on this site. We think that makes the most sense here. And with that, of course, we understand that there are traffic issues here. As you all know, the code requires us to not only go through an analysis, but determine if any roadways are failing or if there are any issues with those roadways. And if there are, we are responsible to mitigate or pay our fair share of modifying or updating those roadways in a certain way to meet the demands and the criteria required by our development. And so we will make sure to do that. We'll make sure to adhere to whatever those requirements are moving forward. And if that requires substantial modifications to those roadways, then we would be responsible for those modifications in order to make the project work, or the project won't be able to move forward as required by as your code and the requirements within those provisions of the code. The other issues with respect to stormwater, I'm sure you've heard this many times. There's a lot of back and forth about stormwater and the trajectory of rains that have occurred and the difference in climate and what's responsible for what and how certain things work in that area. There are stormwater analyses required on this site. Right now, it's a sheet. So all this site does at this moment is it runs off all the stormwater on the site. When it is developed, of course, you're going to be taking down trees. I completely understand that. However, you are required to put in stormwater systems. Those stormwater systems actually collect and bring down the stormwater rather than having it run off like a sheet. So respectfully, there is a difference between especially the new standards that have recently been put in place in all of these different jurisdictions in Flagler County are very stringent. They are way more stringent than they were when there were little to no stormwater standards for a lot of residences in this area. And so I understand that flooding is an issue. A lot of the flooding is an issue because standards weren't in place at all previous to this, and you can't really go back and put in those standards for those existing neighborhoods. So we will adhere to those standards and do what is necessary to make sure that the stormwater is retained on site. And we're happy to work with the neighbors, meet with them and speak with them further to see what they're looking for to ensure that this site works for everyone involved. Thank you.
I'm very familiar with that area. Go by there all the time, and I agree with the gentleman back here is talking about the flooding. It doesn't take a whole lot of rain to flood that along there on both sides of the road. So stormwater is going to be a serious.
And that's precisely what I was saying regarding right now. It's acting as a sheet. It almost helps the flooding because it just completely runs off versus going into any system. There's no system in that area right now, and we would provide that system as part of our plan. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
So do you know, like you said, the thing that was sticking on this was that shopping center.
Yes, sir.
That, trying to get that. And that was in that, just that box in the front, correct?
Yes, sir, correct.
Would Palm Coast allow that you guys do analysis to find out if Palm Coast would allow that use there?
I believe they allow shopping center as a use, but we would have to go through their process to see what the minimum requirements are to meet that.
And you haven't looked at that?
No.
Okay. Dumb question. You did get sworn in, right? You did do the I swear.
I'm an attorney, so I don't have to be sworn.
Okay. All right. So here's it seems to me that the shopping center may be more of, I mean, you talked to Ray Tyner, obviously, you said he's left there and
Yes,
gone
sir.
down there. I don't know if that was the sticking point that maybe, because Palm Coast probably would not have a problem with the homes. The homes and the townhomes would probably not an issue. It's probably be putting the shopping center on there. And I don't know if that's sort of, so I'm wondering if if that is the real problem and that's why this is now in front of us instead of being in front of Palm Coast.
Oh, no, that's not the issue at all. We discussed shopping center purely because for grocery purposes with Flagler County. We haven't spoken to Palm Coast other than showing them the general plan and them saying, yeah, at this moment we're good. Feel free to move forward with Flagler County. That's what they told us. So they didn't look at the details of the plan. They just looked at the generalities and said, that looks good to us at this time. Of course, because they are the utility provider, we will have to have those conversations with them. But again, that would come at a point where they would have to approve of any development that occurs if we move forward with annexing into.
If you annex it.
Right, and
But
they may require annexation because of utilities. And so if they do, and they say, hey, we'll take the development agreement, but you're going to have to modify X, Y, and Z to meet our standards.
If you already have the entitlements, then you don't have to do that.
That's not correct.
If
You
already
would.
haven't, if we grant you the entitlements, then they cannot force an annexation upon you to get utilities. Correct? I mean,
That was
is
going to be
correct,
my
Steph?
question as well.
Can we get it? Can we get the staff to chime in? Is that correct? They cannot force an annexation due to utilities?
Shall I bring up water wars? I mean, yeah.
Everyone's being silent. Everyone's trying to be politically correct here.
It is my understanding that the settlement provides that the city cannot require
Right.
annexation.
Right. But they could annex the residential and not the commercial.
Then although it is already an enclave, you would definitely have an enclave after that if they left part of the property behind.
Yeah, it's getting very much so. Already looks that way.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't be really possible because it's one cohesive development agreement. So to annex in the residential, I'm not even sure that would be feasible.
You could.
Yeah,
You could sell. You could sell your
parcel.
commercial part. I don't want you the attorney, but you could sell off your commercial part to another entity, and then the other entity owns what's left in residential. It does the overlying
But
zoning is intact.
It's mixed use. It's not residential. It's mixed use high density. So it allows for a mix of uses that this development agreement permits. So, and the other part of that is that we provided certain self-imposed.
And that I see and I appreciate and I understand why too. I agree with you. I mean, the 600,000 square foot of actual impervious building square footage is Tanger Mall or something.
Yeah, and it wouldn't meet the other requirements in the agreement anyways, so it's not possible. Again, it's just the theoretical max looking in a vortex and not looking at the other provisions in the agreement that don't allow that.
Chairman, if I may, and Mark, I looked into that as well because the 600,000 was still sticking in my head.
Yeah.
The ALF is considered part of the commercial also, isn't it? So
Yes.
that's where they're getting the 600,000 because 11.3, an acre is what, 43,500 square feet or something like that?
Well, 43,560.
Yeah, 560, there you go. So yeah, 11 acres at 43,000, that's not 600,000, but then once you throw the ALF in there, that's where they're getting the 600,000 square feet.
Correct.
Let me just speak for myself because there's five gentlemen up here tonight and they all are smart, strong-minded and they have their own opinion. the longer I've been in this county, the older I get, the more wisdom I get. So I sat on this board many, many years ago when we were approving projects back in 2000 something or other, and we were doing a lot of approving of projects. This has nothing to do with ICI, by the way. I'm just talking about in general. And down the road, stuff comes back and all the neighbors come around, and once we give you the entitlements, this is an important step, because the other steps are just making it all work. You got to just fit your plan to those restrictions. But the neighbors come in and say, geez, this was all wooded land, and why is all these houses built? And did anyone look at can we take all these houses? Can we take all this traffic? And they come in way after the fact, and rightly so, because it's very difficult for every citizen to keep up with every rule and every regulation and everything that's going on. So I don't really expect everyone in those Seminole Woods to really know what's going on here tonight and to try to chime into this meeting. Could they have to chime into county meetings and state meetings and federal meetings and so on if you really want to be involved in everything, and nobody can do that. So the older I get, I start saying that the question is can that area handle it? Is it, and it's just not just, we got a letter from the city saying that you can do the water. Now, at one time that was a problem, but, because they did have some failings, and now they're spending, I don't know how many, tens of millions of dollars to try to fix all that, or more than that. But, like you say, the commercial, is that warranted on that street? It is zoned for it right now, but we have an agricultural property. That's where there's a little negotiation going on at some point as to what can be happening with this property. So I'd like to see ICI build a lot of homes, and, you guys keep doing well, and that's great. But what I don't want to see is that we just nilly-willy keep approving, I would say larger projects that really have a bigger effect on neighbors without just looking at the whole picture. And because, and I love the word enclave, because we really are having an enclave, we're looking at this zoning, and it almost seems to be a Palm Coast issue. It almost seems to be their issue and not our issue. And that's why I asked what they would allow and not allow. And then, that it's almost like an end run, that we approve what we can approve under our zoning, and then we go into Palm Coast. And that's happened before. That's happened on commercial projects on 100, quite out in the open. That was what was going on. So,
If I could respond, I think your attorney could tell you, I believe if you do annex into Palm Coast, they have a right to review the development agreement, and we have to go before them to get the approvals again. So it's not like we're pulling a fast one on Palm Coast. We actually have to start over.
Well, you don't have to annex into Palm Coast.
Yeah.
And that's what my point was. So you could stay in the county, and if I'm sitting here and strictly looking at the county's point of view, all of that traffic impact fee and all of those water impact fees and everything you're going to be paying is going to the county, not the city. And there is a little bit of a cooperation back and forth, but all those money, and that's for quite a lot of stuff, is going to an entity that isn't going to be improving the road, that isn't going to be doing all. They're not going to come out there and do 600 feet of road. That's not what they're going to do. And so...
And that is why we are speaking with the city, because there may be an agreement for us to annex. So that's why we've kept them in the loop the entire time. That's why we've showed them the plan and had those conversations, is for this reason, so that whether we're in the county or we're in the city, everyone's in agreement on what the plan is and what it is moving forward.
Right.
But because we are currently in the county, we can't do anything unless we come before you and show us your plans. We're tied. We need to move this forward in order to be able to go to the city and have those conversations with them. That's what they told us to do. So that's why we're here. We're kind of stuck in between the two.
Yeah, I would just personally, and I'm just one vote, I would love to see more. I see the city requires a community meeting, I believe, something this size. Mm-hmm. We don't have that in the county. We brought this up years ago, and we still ever to adopt any sort of community meeting. So the people in the community around them, you said you'd love to meet with them. Well, they do require it. Now, that whatever happens in that meeting is just recorded and comes out, but at least they're alerted and they show up to a meeting, and it is in this formal dais. You all can talk back and forth in a better process than what happens in these meetings anyway. But what happens is down the road, when you're doing your final plat and somebody gets a hold of it and they tell their neighbor, and all of a sudden we got 20 neighbors in here and say, where are all these roads, what's going on over here? And they weren't here for this meeting today. And I just want to make sure that we can rightly say all of the impacts are being accounted for. And that's what I'm concerned about. Not to say you can't do it.
Right.
But to say that you're doing it correctly and those impacts are being affected. That's why we don't require the community meeting. We don't require that Palm Coast says yes or no. We don't require that. So I'm not going to, I don't have the right to require that. But I don't know what steps that, and I'm going to talk to staff in a second, but what steps that can be taken so that when those, down the road, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, that you're going forward and building and the neighbors show up, that these are out there and this was vetted well and not just this one meeting and boom, and you got, 500 homes out there.
Right, right. What I can tell you is it's definitely not just one meeting. It's been a very long process with staff, with multiple development review meetings as well. Your staff has a process that they have to abide by, and if we don't meet all the requirements in the code, we don't get to come here. So we keep getting kicked back until we meet all those requirements. So your code requires a certain list of requirements to be met to even come before you. Or I guess you could object to those and come before you anyways, and then staff would say, we don't recommend approval, we don't think it's a good project. They have not said that. We've worked very diligently with them to make sure what we're doing meets all the criteria in the code and not only meets them, but exceeds them and makes sense for the area. So our goal is to work with staff to make sure they're very comfortable with the project and that they can come before you and present and say, this makes sense for the area, and we can stand up confidently and say, this makes sense for the area, and move it forward. And I wish we could be in the city of Palm Coast right now, and I could work with them, but we're not. And so legally, we're required to come before you, and not only before you, but county council as well, and they have to approve it, and there's required notices that must go out to the community for these meetings. And so from our perspective, we are doing whatever it takes to make this project right. We've hired our engineers, we've hired our traffic consultants. If we didn't think this made sense for the area, we wouldn't be before you today, and we would take the time to go back and modify the plans to make sure that both staff and even our own engineers and traffic consultants were comfortable with it, with signing and sealing their name on their proposals to move this project forward. So
I understand that. Been here for a long time. I got the process. If we approve this tonight, it's not a given that you have the right to put all that on there.
Not at all.
But after tonight, it would be a right, and it's a given that you can put that on there, and that's my point. So once you have the entitlements.
It would be a recommendation.
Recommendation only.
Yeah.
Well,
I shouldn't say that. Right. Once we recommend it, it goes to county staff, county commission, and then they get to vote on it. I get that, but that's the same mirroring image that I'm looking at. Once it leaves us, and we approve it in our minds, we're saying, okay, this is what we think is right, and go forward with it. They have the right then to do all those things, as long as they then, fill it in the box right, But until they get that permission, this still agricultural land and whatever the other zoning was on there.
Commercial.
Yeah.
Ms. Spector?
Yes, sir.
You said you believe that possibly Palm Coast can't force them to annex. That's kind of, I know you can't give me, but that's one of the questions that are rising in my head. I'd love more clarity on that. Possibly you can't give it to me, but maybe it's something but yeah, go ahead.
It's absolutely something I could give you an answer on. It's just not something I have personally looked at before.
Okay.
So I didn't want to give you a definitive answer,
No,
but
I
I know
appreciate
my
that.
office's opinion is that
They cannot
require
force the
that.
annex.
The settlement document's pretty clear.
I remember when they did all that stuff, yeah, and I would just, who knows what the way Palm Coast can try to make sure that they cover themselves, that, small clause here or there. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
And then I just wanted to highlight, Mr. Mengel found page 46 of the backup. They do have a page in their transportation engineering document, the current level of service. Currently, the adopted level of service is a D with the estimate that by 2035, estimated project completion, the roads would not fail. That's their traffic engineer, who provided this document, but that's what's been provided thus far. And then I did want to point out that staff has been, communicative with the city staff. We have our joint planning committee where we have brought up this project. We have sent them all of the submittals, and we have yet to hear any comments, questions, or concerns from that. Whether or not they send some right before the Board of County Commission meeting, maybe they will. That seems to be the county's habit sometimes, or if they even show up. But we have been, trying to alert them that this is happening. And if they have any concerns about their roadways, we haven't heard any thus far.
Is the change in staff up at the top, has that affected this communication back and forth?
I sent the application to their new director, Fong.
Oh, that's right. They've got a new guy up there. Okay. What's the pleasure of the board?
I think I'll read the options to the board before you discuss. Where they're, let me get my PowerPoint back. Okay, so for the future land use amendment, your options are to approve project 2025-08-0073, a future land use amendment for the subject parcels totaling 119 acres from ag and timber and commercial low intensity to mixed use high intensity, with the adoption of the parcel limiting policy, finding that the amendment is consistent with the Flagler County Comprehensive Plan. Or you can determine that the amendment is not consistent with the comprehensive plan and deny the amendment, or you can determine that more information is needed and continue the request to a time and date certain.
Thank you. It's a pleasure of the board.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion for a continuance on project 2025080074 to get back specifically some more information from Palm Coast in regards to the traffic situation, to see if they have any plans in mind for Seminole Woods Parkway, something that's going to help alleviate the traffic coming in.
I'll second that motion and ask that maybe you amend your motion for them to comment in general about accepting the project and how it affects the overall scheme.
Yeah. I'd like to make a motion to continue project 2025080074 so that we can get more information on the traffic studies and as well the overall views and feelings and of Palm Coast in general to a time certain next month for our meeting.
This is on the, this project was noticed for the December 15th Board of County Commission. That's what the public notice was originally posted for. However, administration changed that meeting from a 5:30 p.m. meeting to a 9:30. So our public notice was mute, so we have to renotice that. So they'll be seen before the Board of County Commission January 12th. We haven't done that yet. The next meeting would be January 13th.
Okay.
And there's one, yeah.
So this goes to
The February 9th would be the board meeting, and the 12th, the January 12th would be our meeting for it.
13th.
13th, I'm sorry.
And this would go to the BOCC without any recommendation from the planning
No,
board?
this would come back to you guys January 13th.
Before going to the
Before
board.
going to the board.
Before it goes.
Okay.
And Mr. Long, I just wanted to clarify, You're talking about the future land
I
use.
was just about to say, Chair Boyd just pointed out to me, let me redo this to make sure I'm on the right one. I would like to motion for a continuance of project 2025080073 to gain more information from the City of Palm Coast regarding their traffic studies as well as their overall view on the project.
And is that your second?
I have a second on that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary.
So the motion on the floor is to continue the project. Timothy Connor,
Aye.
Mark Langella,
Aye.
Ron Long,
Aye.
Anthony Lombardo,
Aye.
Michael Boyd.
Aye.
The motion does carry.
Thank you. Agenda item number 8 is quasi-judicial requiring ex parte communication. Any member of the board have anything to report on item number 8?
No,
Seeing none, this is project number 2025-080074, a request to rezone to the PUD district in the AC district.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Yes,
Doesn't
sir.
a flum change have to precede rezoning? Yes. So this is moot.
Yeah.
Well, we heard them both together. So do we just vote to continue this? Would be the logical step here?
That would be the logical one, yes.
You want to do this one, Mark? or you
Do
want
we
me
have to open it up and close it again? Because we did have we heard them all together at one time
We
anyway.
combined the public comment, so it's ready for the,
Chairman, I'd like to move that we continue this item to the January meeting.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Madam Secretary.
The motion on the floor is to continue the project. Timothy Connor,
Aye.
Mark Langella,
Aye.
Ron Long,
Aye.
Anthony Lombardo,
Aye.
and Michael Boyd.
Aye.
The motion does carry unanimously.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, staff comments.
Just for the record of anybody who was here for public comment, that means the item has been continued to the January 12th meeting in this room, January 13th meeting, Tuesday, January 13th, 6 p.m. in this same room. No, public notice will be maintained from this meeting.
Thank you. Item number 9, staff comments. Anything from staff?
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Any board comments?
I have one comment really quick.
Yes, sir.
You know, I don't want to talk specifically about an item, but we talked about several changes, regarding public meetings and some other things. All right, where are we at with any LDC change I mean, I know you guys are doing an overall thing, but, can't we make any of these changes that have been talking about over and over again without going through the full rewrite and just somebody write up an ordinance and go in front of the commission, or what?
We could. I think we are still just waiting for 180, Senate Bill 180 to shake out. A requirement such as, requiring additional community meetings is something that could potentially be considered more burdensome. So I think we, and just like a lot of jurisdictions, are waiting for this next
Is there
legislative
any update where that
cycle.
is? I know we did not join the lawsuit, right?
No, we did not. I don't believe there has been any Senate bills that have been proposed thus far this legislative cycle that would give us what we want or what we hope for. Some that are going in the wrong direction, actually. So at this point, no.
Thank you.
All righty. Next item on the agenda is public comments, but since all the public has vacated the room, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We stand adjourned. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.